All right, welcome to another episode of MicroShiner's Life Distilled. I'm here at 2 Bar Spirits with Maddie Kelly and my good friend Adam Junod. So, okay, let's kick this off. So, all right, Maddie, you were about to go into where does the name 2 Bar Spirits come from?
Yeah, so 2 Bar is actually a ranch in South Texas that's been in our founder's family for over 100 years, since the 1800s. I think they're on their 6th generation of family members ranching the land. And legend has it during Prohibition, they used to make a fair amount of moonshine down there. That was a long time ago, though.
Okay, yeah, Texas moonshine.
Yeah.
Okay, so is the grain grown down there?
No, so we want to source our grain as locally as we possibly can. Okay. So our corn is coming from Eastern Washington direct from the farmer, as well as our wheat. And then the malted barley that we use is malted in Vancouver, Washington for the most part, and grown in the Northwest.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Vancouver. So, okay.
Where does the water come from?
It's just straight Seattle water, just filtered water. Okay. Yeah.
I know sometimes that has a flavor component to like beers or even pizza.
So I've heard, yeah. And Seattle water, I mean, our goal is to just have plain old H2O. So it's filtered. Anything that is added after distillation is filtered, and it's just pure water. We're really focusing on the flavor of the grain for our whiskey, and then how the barrel, changes that as it ages. But we try to keep it pretty simple.
Okay. All right. So all your products here, you do a moonshine. And so, yeah, let's go into a little bit of the spirits first. Three spirits or 3 products.
Yeah, and actually we just released the rye this week, so we don't always have that. This sells out pretty quickly. We make a really limited amount of it, and that has a lot to do with the way you make rye and the way our production works. It's very labor intensive.
Okay.
And I can go into that more, but really bourbon is our focus. This is 99% of what I do. I get in, I make bourbon. We do moonshine for fun. It's a good cocktail spirit, but we are the first bourbon distillery in Seattle. We make everything from scratch. We just want to stay focused on doing that well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I know you're starting to talk about the mash bills and how you cannot discuss them. They're like super secret.
Well, yeah.
Can you break it down maybe a little bit?
Absolutely. So the moonshine is high majority corn, Washington corn, with just a little bit of 2-row malted barley. It's really just enough malt for the enzymatic conversion. So malt is used to convert starch in the corn into sugar, which will be fermentable. But it's a very straightforward spirit. So that recipe is not too hard to figure out.
Okay.
The bourbon is majority corn, as bourbon always will be, but it's a really heavily malted bourbon, and we're using 4 different types of malt, and that's what we don't get into exactly.
Okay.
And it's wheated as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Can we try some moonshine?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's go through it. So Nathan is the owner, and he's not in today. He's actually heading back down to Texas.
Yeah, he's going to visit the ranch with his boys. He tries to get them down there every year and teach them a little bit of the hard work and ranching lifestyle, which they don't get too much of up in Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just moved here from Texas, actually, and we were right about that area in the Driftwood Hill Country area. And it was really gorgeous and beautiful. There was starting to be some like new like destination breweries and wineries and a distillery that was around the street from us. And it was, just really beautiful ranch, as you'd expect, ranch land.
Yeah, Nathan just loves the land there that the ranch is on. And we have photos around our tasting room of the ranch that if you visit, you'll see pictures of Nathan's dad as a baby. That's actually on our bottle as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see that. That's great. That's awesome. Okay. So this is like just nothing but corn. Like you get nothing but corn on the nose.
Yeah.
That's a nice, that's a clean moonshine.
It's a very clean, just simple moonshine, which makes it ideal for pretty much mixing with any fruit base or ginger beer. It mixes it's fun to play around with.
Okay. And this is all made by yours truly.
Wow.
Or sorry, you, Maddie.
Yeah. I'm the one
Not yours truly. Right.
I mill the grain, about 1,000 pounds of grain every morning, and start the process off.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is going to sound probably like a really ignorant question, but I guess I always thought moonshine to be like a very high concentrate alcohol and like not only, but generally made in bathtubs. This is a really excellent drink.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
When we started off, we were making our moonshine in basically a glorified bathtub. Actually,
Okay.
I'm not joking. It was a big old milk vat, but it looked like a big kind of metal hot tub. And we hand mixed it. It was very moonshiny. So moonshine was one of the first things that we had because we didn't have time to age whiskey.
Like it's been illegal in some states, but in others not so because it's got a certain percentage of ABV.
It depends on the proof. Yeah, every state has a different proof that they allow to be sold to the public.
But moonshine is just this particular style of corn.
It's not a legally regulated term, so it's more of a historical term.
Sure, right. Yeah.
So historically, corn was really common to use because it was cheap, and pretty easy to ferment and get good sugars out of. Yeah.
That's nice.
And we went for a lower proof. It's 80 proof, so it's lower than anything else we do because we wanted it to be approachable. I understand that there's a lot of fear around moonshine, and unless you're from North Carolina, West Virginia, you haven't had a lot of experience with it. So we wanted something approachable and that people could actually enjoy. Yeah.
Okay, so Maddie, being the young, beautiful woman that you are, what got you into distilling?
I showed up here over 6 years ago, just kind of vaguely interested in the process. I studied chemistry, so I had distilled on glassware, but not liquor, to be clear. And I just wouldn't stop showing up. I just kept turning up until Nathan hired me. Yeah.
And how long ago was that?
That was over 6 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And had they just started to operate? And
They were operating on a pretty small scale. There were a few other guys working here at the time. Our equipment was not very efficient. Are we able
What's
to
up?
pause for a second?
Okay, yeah. Let's take a quick break. Is this your husband?
No. We're technically open, and Anne gets in at 3. So.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We'll cut.
Are you here for the rye by any chance?
I am, and I love that you welcome to the podcast.
Right.
So we're back on. So that was just a customer who drove. I don't know where Ula is.
Just up on Capitol Hill.
Okay. Where's Capitol Hill in relation to here?
It is probably about a 10-15 minute drive, depending on traffic.
Okay. So he drove out of his way to come here to get 2 bottles of rye whiskey. He could have gone to a liquor store and got Templeton, but he came here. That's awesome. Sorry. I just wanted to admire that fact.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely appreciate all of the support we've gotten from the locals around Seattle. It's great. They're really interested in seeing what is made here, craft, local,
Do you guys have a membership? Do you guys have a membership package, monthly whiskey club bourbon?
We tried that, and I think we're a little understaffed at the moment. Yeah, we are producing a lot of whiskey, more than anyone else per employee ratio.
Wow.
So we got to stay
need a badge
super
or something
focused.
for that.
We mostly just need to expand in the near future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a consideration for the future?
At some point in the next couple of years, we'll definitely need to have a bigger team. But right now, we're making it work. We're we're lean and efficient. We make it work. Yeah.
And so 2 Bar, you guys are 6 years old? Well, you've been coming here for 6 years.
We are coming up on 7 in October, I believe.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what were we chatting about before we were rudely interrupted? I'm just joking. by the customer who demanded his rye. No.
Keeping the business afloat.
Right. Yeah. No, exactly. No, we don't want to halt production. That's usually the case with most podcasts. It's super noisy, and it's because production's happening. And it's very cool. But I lost my train of thought.
I wanted to ask, so how many barrels do you make in each particular run? Because you say, you have 3 different products. Are you making the exact same recipe for all of them in
So
20-gallon batches?
So I make the same volume
Uh-huh.
for everything. The rye is a little different. It's
Thank you.
rye, we lauter everything. So for people that don't know what that is, lautering is where you separate the liquid from the grain out of your mash tun and you ferment just the liquid. A lot of American whiskey is fermented on the grain. So rye whiskey is typically fermented on the grain.
Okay.
To separate the liquid from rye is pretty complicated.
Gotcha.
So we do smaller batches of rye just to make that feasible. But yeah, the bourbon is the same recipe every single day. We're just aging it a little longer, tweaking small things,
Sure.
managing temperatures. But
this-
really, we want to be as consistent as possible.
Sure. Are these recipes handed another family generational thing?
No. Typically, family recipes aren't always the best recipes.
Sure.
Whatever they were making
And-
in the 1920s, I mean, they were considering like what's cheapest,
Uh-huh,
not
sure.
what tastes best or what do local farmers
Yeah.
have available. So these recipes were created actually before I came on board, with the exception of the rye. The rye is my creation.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you were in chemistry school or going to school to become a chemist, did you see yourself making whiskey?
No, I was on a pre-med track.
Okay.
Yeah. And then much to the disappointment of my parents, decided liquor was just more interesting. Yeah, the truth is I just can't sit still for too long. So I like to be working, making something with my hands. And this job suits me pretty well.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever made LSD? You don't have to answer that, actually. Actually, you should answer that, but maybe off the air.
No. I think the craziest drug we ever actually made in school, because there was always a professor around, we made aspirin at one point, which was pretty interesting. I mean, it's not as interesting to take aspirin, I'm sure, but...
No, it was just funny. I was watching a documentary on my flight down here. What was it? The Sunshine Makers. It was about all the house, orange sunshine and sunshine acid came to be. And I just found out they made acid in Windsor, which is like right next to my hometown. Anyway, that's
right.
aspirin. Awesome.
Yeah.
I know.
Not super exciting.
But that's okay. So this is fascinating. Okay, well let's try what do you suggest we try next?
So next, let's go with the bourbon. We're just going to go up in proof.
Sounds
basically.
great. Okay.
So the bourbon is 100 proof. We like our whiskey a little bit on the stronger side here, I suppose.
Can you clarify where the proof word came from?
So there's actually a lot of different stories around proof.
It's actually kind of fun. I like
yeah,
this.
and
I
haven't been giving tours here for a while, so my stories are a little bit rusty, to be completely honest. But yeah, there's, I think there's a story about like British naval officers being paid in liquor, and so it had to be a certain proof. It had to be high enough alcohol content for them to be able to light it on fire, and if it was flammable, that was proof that it was like good payment.
Sure.
That sounds. I feel like you could poke a few holes in that.
Well, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because that's something you were kind of referring to as well, Adam. You mentioned something like that.
Totally different, not at all, actually.
No, really, not at
So
all. Okay.
what's your story?
My understanding of it was that the proofing of it was that it was proof positive, that it was clean water to drink. Because on long voyages in like hundreds of years ago, they didn't have sanitary conditions for water. So water was a very valuable commodity. And so in order to store it longer, they could have an alcohol form of it, water, basically. Because a lot of it is water, right? It's 50%.
Yeah,
or
50%,
the other way.
50% water. Yeah.
So that was that's my understanding of it, at least.
Yeah, I mean, whiskey definitely has been used as a safe alternative to water,
right?
Historically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have no interesting story about proof. But no,
what's your proof?
I know, right? I just know like the whole Navy strength gin, where that comes from, and that's like all their stories kind of have the one underlying, element, which is the Navy or, boats, shipping and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, Navy strength gin, I'm sure you guys have heard this. Like Navy strength gin is like, it has to be above a certain proof because they store gin next to where the powder kegs were. And so if the gin leaked, the powder still had to work. So it had to be over a certain proof so that the powder could still ignite. No, so it could still ignite, so it's still flammable.
Yeah.
So it can do its
Yeah,
thing.
maybe
Totally different story also.
Should be able to light on fire.
Yeah.
Well, this is fantastic bourbon.
Thank you.
Super, I like the sweetness.
Yeah, bourbon is always going to be on the sweeter side for whiskeys since it's always aged in brand new barrels, which I'm sure you guys know. And you pull those sweet qualities out of the wood from that initial use.
But the spice that stays on there in the mouth, that heat, I'm about that. I like that. So this is 100 proof, 50%. Am I right? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
And then,
exactly.
So what's the mash bill for this again?
So it's a low majority corn,
Awesome.
a really large amount of malted barley, which is
it the
unusual.
minimum percent? Is it 51% corn?
It's not exactly. We give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room.
Okay.
Because I'm just measuring in buckets, you know.
Right.
But yeah, it's down there definitely, and then heavily malted. We have such good malt in the Northwest. All the breweries here, there's a good market for malted barley, and then a touch of wheat, which adds a little bit of a extra sweetness and a little extra caramel.
And the wheat, that's where you get from Vancouver?
No, the malt is all malted in Vancouver.
Okay, malted.
And then the wheat and the corn come from the same farmer in Eastern Washington.
Okay,
That's excellent.
Yeah.
What do you do with your spent grains?
So that cattle farmer picks up and it becomes cattle feed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Keep it in the local agriculture system.
It's great because someone comes and picks it up for us. It's no hassle for us, and the cows apparently love this stuff.
Totally.
Yeah. So it works out.
So, you gotta go do something?
I should go check the still.
Go check the
probably
still.
cut to tails.
Okay.
That's a good question. What was the liquor license I guess you weren't here when they first got that particular.
Yeah, I know a little bit about it just because Nathan's talked to me about it, and there's a lot of permitting in Seattle. There's a lot of permitting.
Sure, yeah.
So I don't think it was too backlogged at the time that we started up because we were among the first 10 distilleries.
And there's only a certain amount.
There's about 130 now in Washington. There's more every week.
Sure. Or I was saying though, like there's only a certain amount allowed in a certain region or something.
That's the pot shops.
Okay.
Yeah, but the distilleries you can pretty much put as many as you want. Yeah, they're popping
as much
up
as the
everywhere.
market demands.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's a tough industry to get into. That's
Sure.
why there's not so many.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. Like looking at distilleries in comparison to breweries. Breweries can ferment on site. They can serve food. They can have live music, and that's the thing. Distilleries, I don't know of a distillery that actually distills on site, serves food, and serves its own alcohol, except for I think that might only state I think you could do it is maybe DC.
Okay.
Or the district.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know about DC, but yeah, you definitely can't serve food here. Can't have a restaurant attached to the distillery. They can be separated, but next to each other and kind of connected. There's a good example of that in the Inner Bay neighborhood in Seattle. There's Batch 206, which is a cool distillery to check out. And there's a great pizza place that is shares a wall, and then they serve a lot of cocktails made with Batch 206 spirits. Yeah.
All right. And then you cannot charge for tastings, can you?
We can now. What you can't do is advertise free tastings.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but the laws have changed a lot just in the 6+ years that I've been here.
No, definitely.
It's
been, me being from California, seeing how everything's changed just from the distilleries, they would find their way around it is they would charge for tours, and with the tour comes a free tasting.
Yeah.
So it's going in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, for the most part, definitely. And every state is completely different. So if you're exporting to states, we're in 22 states, I believe, right now. And exporting to every state is different because they might be state controlled. So you sell directly to the government, or you might be able to sell directly to restaurants and bars and liquor stores. Just, you got to figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you selling outside of Washington?
Yeah. So 22 states.
Cool.
So,
Nice.
I won't list all of them. I actually don't keep track
There's
of all of
22
them.
in there. Yeah.
And then we're in BC, Canada. But
Cool.
that is the only place outside
That's
of the
awesome.
country.
So you guys are producing some good volume.
Yeah. Our tiny still is deceiving, but it is always on.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's how many liters is that Carl?
So it's 55 gallons. I still do everything. I'm sorry, in gallons.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Gallons. I ask liters because that's usually when they buy them. They
Yeah,
ask in
and it is a
liters.
German-made still, but we bought it from a distillery that unfortunately a friend of ours went out of business really nearby, just a few blocks away. So, yeah.
Okay. No, I like it. You use the imperial system.
What is
Yeah,
the
just-
pictures on the drums?
On our fermenters, you will find famous country music stars. So we've got June Carter on the far left, and then most people recognize Dolly. I was listening to Dolly all morning, actually.
Nice.
Great stuff. Connie Smith, who's not as well known, but talented musician. And then on the very end, closest to the boiler, is Patsy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's really funny. I've noticed that at a lot of distilleries, they have like names like this one's Jim, that one's John, that one's Tim. Just and it's easy instead of saying it's in that
easier.
fermenter.
Or I was just going to ask you, have you ever been to a distillery that has naming convention of like 1, 2, 3, 4? They're mostly creative.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have. I'm trying to think back, but I remember the funny names,
Yeah,
really,
for sure.
that's how it is. But because I don't know, that's stuff I catch. But no, that I'm sure I have.
Because then you can say fun things like Patsy's blowing her top.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's awesome. Okay, should we try the rye?
Absolutely.
Is there
yeah.
time? Yeah, there's
Yeah,
time.
for sure. So this rye is 108.4 proof. So this is barrel strength. We just put it into the barrel at a lower strength and then aged it for a few years. We're still using half-size barrels for everything.
Okay.
Everything that's been bottled, at least.
Okay. Now, do you have anything new that you're going to be coming out with?
So the rye right now is our holiday kind of like October, November, December release.
Okay.
And then we like to play around with other breweries in the area because local breweries in Seattle, there's so many options of really cool beers.
Yeah.
And whiskey is basically beer that's been distilled down to just the alcohol component of the beer. But you get those great flavors from the grain too. So like behind us, we have 3 barrels of a Russian Imperial Stout made with the brewers from Counterbalance Brewery, which is just down the road from us.
Okay.
And then we distilled that into a whiskey, and it makes a really cool whiskey.
Okay.
Say that again? It's yours first and then theirs and then comes back here?
So we make their beer in our mash tun with them here. So the brewers come here.
Okay.
And they make their beer. So we made their Russian Imperial Stout all together, which was a cool collaboration. And then we put it through our fermenters and distill it down on our stills into a whiskey.
Wow.
So it is that beer just with no hops.
Cool.
Hops don't tend to distill super well. And then distilled into a whiskey. So it's this really cool, you can really taste the stout on it. This is our second batch.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Are these 3 full right here?
They are, yeah.
How do I remove the top? Is it?
Yeah, you really just need a hammer.
Okay. I'm bringing a hammer.
Yeah.
So that's actually the whiskey in those barrels.
Yeah, aging in the tasting room because that's where we had space.
Can we get a thief out and dive in?
There might be some better options. Well, yeah, we should try that. Those are the most accessible.
If I'm pushing my boundaries, just let me know.
We
Like,
have
no,
a
you
few
can't touch
ones like that around, but those are the most accessible. Yeah, we could definitely get a little barrel thief out.
Yeah, that'd be
You
fun.
want to do that right now?
Yeah. Let's
All right.
check it out. Yeah, let's thief some barrels.
Oh,
Okay, so this is the new barrel strength action that we just.
so there's
thieved.
stoutiness in here. Oh, I'm sure it's stout.
Whoa.
Yeah, you can really taste the stout. And it's really still pretty young, so
Yeah.
this is going to taste a lot like just the new make.
Well, it's still this is cool because
Wow.
I don't know. I love tasting stuff in barrels for many reasons,
Yeah.
but you're gonna see how it gets to progress. So this is almost like close to being like the blank canvas, you know?
Yeah, it just has a little,
How long are you aiming to
Golden color.
keep it in there?
as long as it takes. Really, we kind of set things and forget them, which is a good idea with whiskey, is to kind of
Sure.
forget about them. Don't
Yeah.
wait on your whiskey. I mean, it just takes too long.
Yeah.
And then in a few years, I'm sure our friends from Counterbalance Brewery will come and ask where the whiskey is.
Right.
And
So at this point, are you looking at color profile?
this,
are you taking
just
measurements?
based on the color,
Yeah.
I can tell that it's really young. And then I can tell by the smell pretty easily. Yeah.
Is it and it's supposed to be clear, ideally?
Well,
Or
it will
finish?
get darker
Oh,
as it
darker, okay.
ages. Yeah.
Gotcha.
All of the color comes from the wood, so it was completely clear off the still.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That's like crazy, like butterscotch, like caramel.
Yeah, it's got a lot of sweetness to it. You're
Mhm.
right. But yeah, those kind of dark, unsweetened chocolate coffee tones.
Oh yeah, a little
From the
burnt
stout.
coffee on the back end. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like this whiskey. It's very unusual. You're not going to
Yeah.
find something like it.
No.
And the first release was really, people were really into it. It's just kind of a cool.
Is the stout still available for sale?
Yeah, the stout is probably my favorite imperial stout that you can get in Seattle.
Wow.
So if you guys have time, head down to, it's just right in Georgetown, which is just south of here. So when we release this whiskey, they will also age some of their stout in a bourbon barrel, do a bourbon barrel aged stout. And we'll do a co-release, which is really cool for people to be
Yeah.
able to taste the beer and taste the whiskey and kind of compare.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and I've seen that more and more as a trend, and it's just a no-brainer really for distillers to team up with brewers.
Yeah.
Because I mean, say they have a beer that just isn't 100%. I mean, but it's still tasty. All right, distill it, throw it on some oak, and then all right, we can still play with it, you know? And
Yeah.
it's like, and it's not going to be bad, you know?
It could
I mean, okay,
be
sorry.
good or it could be bad. Yeah,
I drink it all, really. So it's good.
But
Give me some
it's true.
acetone.
What makes a beer bad will not necessarily make a bad base for whiskey. And the same is true when you're making brandy from wine or something. A bad wine might actually make a really good brandy.
Uh-huh.
It might not too. There's certain qualities you're looking for. I did have one experience of distilling an IPA for a friend who he kind of ruined his batch of IPA when his head brewer went out of town. And he was really into it. He really likes seeing his beer as a whiskey. I don't know that there's a great market for hopped distilled whiskey, but it's a fun experiment.
Yeah, no, it's really funny. It's funny you bring that up. I mean, we're at Two Bar, and don't forget that, listeners. But Charbet in Northern California, they do the R5 hop whiskey, and it is crazy. It is like super complex. Like I really enjoy it because it's unlike anything I've ever had.
Sure.
But they take if you're familiar with Bear Republic Brewery in California,
Okay.
Racer 5 IPA, they take ready to bottle Racer 5 and distill it in a Lembeck still and then age it in French oak for I think 28 months.
Okay.
And it's just crazy. So many people I've poured it for are just like, I can't drink this. This is too much. It tastes like a cigar was put out in a glass. Like,
Interesting.
but at the same time, if you know the beer, you get all those characteristics coming through.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It
It's-
magnifies some of those flavors and takes away, mutes some of the others.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So from a chemist standpoint, what makes I don't know. I mean, because I know the basics of distillation, but what makes a perfect ferment before you distill it?
Well, with most of distilling, it's just about temperature control. You're heating things up, cooling things down, and if you stay in the right temperature range, that helps a lot. So your fermentation, you don't want it to get too hot. You're going to create some astringent flavors if you do that. But if you go too low, your yeast might not be as active. So really, it just depends on the yeast that you're using and what you're going for. So in distilling, there's a lot of room to play around for what you're looking for as a distiller. So there's not really right answers for many of these questions, I don't think. Some people might think there's a right way to do things. I think there's a right way to make our whiskey. We're very focused on getting the flavor from the grain. So we use a pretty sturdy flavor neutral yeast that's not going to add too much funkiness to it. Mm-hmm. And that way you can taste the corn, the sweetness of the corn, and the malted barley on the finish.
Mm-hmm. No, okay. So, but that's one thing that's really fun is like the different types of yeast. That's like such a key component, and so many people look past that. I mean, I come from wine country, so winemakers are always like, "Oh, it's fermenting and it's natural yeast. Yeah, go for it."
You hear it?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. And she's off. Maddie's gone. She's like, "I'm tired of your bullshit." No.
These are all really, really fantastic.
Yeah, the rye.
Yeah.
I'm about it. I'm about that rye. Maddie's she's killing it with that shit. Moonshine is great. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're all really good, but the one that really stands out to me is the rye. Because that's also the thing too, is like it's a standard product launch.
Sure.
Moonshine, bourbon, rye. That's kind of the route you go.
I think that's like, it says a lot about their company, and that's like their, independence, hard work, stood for quality. Like this is a generation old family that's like, we're going to focus on three things and do it really well.
Absolutely. And that's what I've kind of noticed as well, is there's like two types of distillers. Some that take everything and anything, ferment it and distill it, or perfect something. And that's really, they're doing a great job here.
Like sometimes you can hit or miss with experiments for sure, obviously. But like when you've got a consistent, good product, that's like consistent business. Mm-hmm. We're just talking about a consistent recipe or experimentation.
Yeah, it's fun to do the experimentation, but from a business standpoint, it's a little bit easier to be consistent, and it's also easier to make a better product if you're
do you
sticking to one thing.
Okay, when you say from a business standpoint, do you think that's because people know what bourbon is and people know what rye is, so they're more going to buy a bourbon as opposed to maybe a hot flavored whiskey aged in French oak,
Absolutely. Yeah. It is a hard enough industry already, so you might as well make something that people are drinking.
People
and there's a big market for rye and bourbon right now, and it seems to only be growing. Mm-hmm. So that's going to make your life a little easier. Of course, if you're passionate about the hop flavored hopped whiskey, go for it. Yeah. But maybe also make a bourbon.
Right. No.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, that's a good way to put it. Huh. Okay. Well, may I try the rye one more time?
Absolutely.
Is that doable?
Yeah.
I'm in love with that rye.
Thank you. Yeah.
And this is like your brainchild.
Yeah, the rye is, I had to taste a lot of different ryes to come up with this recipe. It was really hard work.
Was it a majority of it on paper at first? And you were saying come up with this recipe?
I actually did just take a lot of ryes I knew I liked off the shelf.
May I also? Actually?
Yeah, absolutely. And tasted them. And most of the rye whiskeys out there, you can find their mash bill online. Mm-hmm. So I kind of saw what other people were doing, what qualities they were getting. But once you make a whiskey, you don't know how it's going to be until it's done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So there is a little bit of shooting in the dark.
How long does this stay in the barrel?
Over 2 years.
Okay. Wow, that's a long time to wait to be like, I have to tweak my recipe now.
Yeah, and that's in a half-size barrel. So we're starting to age some things in full-size barrels, and those will take 4-6 years at least. And that's for brand new barrels. When you have a used barrel, it takes even longer.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's I really enjoy that. Okay, I guess your husband's going to be here soon with your kids.
He did the pickup in the lot.
He did the pickup.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Are you guys on the Instagram and things?
Yeah, we are on Instagram, on social media, like we should be. Not as active as maybe we should be, but we're working on it. But we definitely post about new releases, all the really important stuff.
Okay.
twobarspirits.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could wrap that up. One last question, I guess, for you is, how have you been received in the industry being a female distiller?
For the most part, it's probably the same as being a male distiller. You just do your work and do it well, and people will judge you based on your whiskey, really.
Right.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people that are too surprised to see women in distilling in 2019. At least in Seattle, I haven't felt a ton of that. Yeah, I can't speak to it too much because I've never distilled as a dude, but yeah, I mean,
right.
I've been around long enough that most of the people in the industry kind of know me and know that I do the work. So
right,
yeah.
No, I mean, I think women are smarter than men anyway. That's just me. So I think you guys are. I mean, first off, you're killing it here at 2 Bar.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is fantastic. But also, what was I going to say again? Shoot. I lost my train of thought again.
Prove it. Proof it.
Proof it. It's funny because it's like, okay, this is where I was going to go. So just essentially because like distilling seems like such a blue collar, like hardworking job. I feel it's like women get the wrong impression, or people might feel that way. About the whole, but the reality is, I think the statistics show that bourbon is more consumed by females than it is by males.
Is it at this point? That's pretty awesome.
So that's one thing I found really fascinating, and it's like, hell yeah.
Well, women and men tend to have different palates. Yeah. Women tend to be able to taste a little bit different. All of the head tasters in Scotland, I believe all of them are women. But that's cool to hear that women are drinking a lot of whiskey. We certainly get a lot of women in here drinking our whiskey, but it still seems like it's a majority male.
No, exactly. That's the thing. You think bourbon, you think the cowboy drinking whiskey, you know, but no, it's I don't know how they're drinking.
This is 2019, man.
Yeah, this is 2019.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I will, though, going back to what you were saying about it being a blue collar sort of work, it definitely is. It's physical labor.
Yeah.
But there's not a whole lot you can't do with a little bit of ingenuity and leverage. I mean, I'm 120 pounds, and occasionally I'll ask Nathan to help me lift a full barrel that weighs 400 pounds. But you get the hang of things, and you can figure it out. Yeah.
Simple machines.
Well, I'd rather have a chemist making my whiskey, to be honest. So thank you, Maddie. Well, thank you for that. Let's do shout outs. So, okay, 2 Bar. When are you guys open and tasting?
So we are officially open in the afternoons, only until about 4 on Tuesday through Thursday. But I get in at 8 a.m. every morning. So I've got firefighters down the street that get off their shift at 8 a.m. and come in to pick up their bottle of whiskey. So you're welcome to do that. If I'm here, we're open pretty much. And then Fridays and Saturdays, that's when we run tours. Anne runs the tasting room, and she knows everything that anyone could know about whiskey. And so those hours are 2 to 6, Fridays and Saturdays. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, come on by 2 Bar in Seattle and drink some moonshine, bourbon, and rye whiskey. And then
really fantastic.
Hopefully some hop. What are you going to call that that's in the barrel over there?
Just the Russian Imperial Stout whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long is it going to sit there for still?
Well, it seems like it needs some time. It's pretty late. Yeah. So we'll just
maybe like a year.
We'll just wait.
Come in
year,
soon.
Yeah.
and then check out the barrels, but then come back in a year and try that whiskey.
Yeah, and we do have a couple other fun releases. You can get on our mailing list on at twobarspirits.com.
Do you ever
Or
do
just follow
like
us on
release
Instagram.
parties? Like, would you open that up for a?
We do, yeah. Occasionally
Right,
we
awesome.
do throw parties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, your
So-
rye is like your seasonal release, yeah?
Yeah, we actually don't have any rye in barrels right now because the fields flooded last year. So part of
wow.
working direct with farmers is you've got to work
Yeah,
with what the
yeah.
farmers work with. Weather,
Wow.
makes a difference. So I'll be making more this year,
Okay.
but you won't see rye from us for a couple of years.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, very cool. Cheers. I don't have any whiskey left, but I think I'm done anyway. But cheers, Maddie. Thank you.
Cheers. Yeah.
This has
Cheers.
been awesome.
Thank you.
Cool.
You're welcome.